So amongst the many questions that we got to talk about, I want you guys to think about this as we get into these reviews right here. Was Yandy wrong for sending her adopted daughter back to her grandmother? Okay, if you saw the episode, you know what I'm talking about. Shout out to our friends over at the Neighborhood Talk. Let's go ahead and hit that like button, okay? Because they asked the question that I was thinking last night myself. So I want you guys to ponder that as we get on into this good intro, okay? What's going on, Skye Squad? How y'all doing? Happy birthday, Cody Weatherington. Hey, shout out to you for that birthday. Listen, Skye Squad, we back in the building. We back in the building. So glad to be back in front of you guys. Listen, I'm still feeling under the weather, but again, we got the job to do, okay? And the job we will do. And we're going to be reviewing both Married to Medicine, the reunion part 3, as well as Love and Hip Hop from last night. Okay, so we're gonna talk about them both. All right, we're gonna talk about them both. All right. Before we get into the topics du jour, okay, let me know in the chatterization where you guys are watching from. I see we got Tampa in the building, Dallas, Texas. Come on, I see you. Jersey is in the building. Who else we got up in here? Come on now. Come on, Atlanta. Hey, thank you so much. Who else we got up in here? DC, Indianapolis, Jamaica, Alabama. Hey, come on, Charlotte, Ohio, Bowie, down the street. St. Louis is in the Hisnai, Georgia. Hey, happy birthday to everybody who's celebrating a birthday today or this week. The DMV. Scotland is in the building. Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Come on. Pineville, Louisiana. Grand Rapids, Michigan. I see y'all in the place. Barbados, Bahamas, DC, Philly. Hey, I see y'all. South Africa, come through. Y'all ready to get this thing going? Let's get this thing a-jumping, okay? Let's get this thing a-jumping. Now, we're going to start with Married to Medicine because I literally just got finished watching the episode and making my notes, okay? And the first thing I got to say about this whole situation is, Scott, when are you just going to come up off of the truth, okay? When is you going to just come up off of the truth and tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God, okay? Because Dr. Scott is looking like more lies is being told. That's what it's feeling like. If you're smelling the air, I smell more lies. I smell a lot more lies. But let's go ahead and get on into it, okay? Because we're going to talk about it. We back to talking about the life coach at the start of this episode. Scott basically said that he made it all up about the life coach, okay? Because he was being immature. He says, and I'm going to tell you the truth. Listen, Scott says at this point that Dr. Contessa knew that he didn't have a life coach right after he told her that he had a life coach. Now, Andy is confused by this because the fella seemed to think that this whole situation made sense. But to Andy, it don't make no sense about why he was lying about the life coach. And it don't make no sense to me either. Now, Scott said he said it was making him look bad that Contessa cared, like it was making him look like Contessa cared more about the relationship because she had already gone to see a life coach. So he decided to say he had seen a life coach too. But he added fuel to the insecurity fire by also saying that it was a female that he met online that he was not paying for, okay? So none of the situation made any sense, and Andy called BS on it. Now, backstage, the ladies are grilling Contessa, and she doesn't know if he has a life coach or not because he always says something different. So Scott, in fact, lied again when he said that Contessa knew he didn't have a life coach because backstage she's saying she don't know what to believe. Okay. So then Contessa admits that they have a timeline, which is by her birthday of next year, for them to be in a different place. Heavenly asks if anything has changed since they made the timeline, and Dr. Contessa says nothing's changed. So Andy asks if they are being monogamous, and Scott says they are. There's some confusion about the whole separation thing. Scott basically is playing it off like he was shocked and surprised that Quad had made their separation announcement to the group. Because according to Scott, Scott feels as though they had worked through the separation because they were still living together, okay? Now, ain't none of this making any sense to me, because the woman had filed for the separation and they had put the house up for sale. We didn't know that last week either. They didn't put the whole house up for sale, and you still clueless about this separation, sir? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Come to find out, they took down the for sale sign, but that don't mean the house ain't still for sale. Okay. Anyway, the men are all confused about Scott's reactions to Quad's separation announcement. The wives then rejoin the stage. We get into a discussion about the pandemic and the Black Lives Matter movement. Eugene talks about how bad the ER and the physicians and people who work in the ER had it, and I definitely can understand firsthand how that went. Okay. So then we get into a discussion about Simone and Cecil, you know, and how she was into him when he was driving a Hyundai. Quad admits that a man in a Hyundai can't do nothing for her, okay? Because she gonna need her a rich man. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you got to maintain this $2.2 million house or whatever the case may be. But, you know, it's good that she was being honest, okay? Eugene took issue with Quad and Heavenly calling him out about their house. Quad, Dr. Heavenly has respect for Eugene because he went to Dr. Damon instead of coming at her about their issues, which I can respect as well. However, okay, Quad begins to try to explain. No, here's the thing. Let me ask you guys a question. Brandon Gant says Scott was perspiring and stammering and just didn't know how to find the truth. Nothing seemed authentic from him. Their marriage is still unstable. Let me tell you something. It is so much easier to tell the truth than to try to continue with this web of lies. And I think that the bad thing about Scott is that he has gotten himself caught up in so many lies that he doesn't even know where the truth resides anymore. That's just my personal opinion about that whole situation. It really is. Meanwhile, Curtis wants to know why it's okay for the women to talk about the men and for the men not to respond. Now, at first, I was thinking that's maybe a valid question. But then Curtis, as he typically does, had to take things a step too far, because he says times have changed and the women have become more aggressive. So if they want to act like a man, and I'm just thinking to myself, Curtis, shut up. And I hate to say that, you know what I'm saying? But Curtis, just shut up. Because every single time I think he about to say something and he about to really give us a nice word or something like that, he always go off the deep end and into the wrong end of the pool. No, sir, you are in the danger zone. Go ahead and go back the other way. Just shut up. You should just sit there, not say nothing. You better be glad Dr. Jackie took you back in the first place, okay? Because you ruins it every time you open your mouth, okay? Just be quiet. Just sit there. Sit there. Sit there and be her accessory, okay? Anyway, they get into a debate about, when the ladies are commenting on the other people, on the other women, it's usually that they're commenting on the relationships and not just the man, okay? Quad begins to explain herself about why she went so hard at Eugene and about Eugene stepping into women's business, and she stands by it, and she doesn't have an issue if it's a man, woman, or child. She's ready to go regardless. Now, I would have to say this, if Quad is not going to have any cut cards with anybody, then she can never be upset about somebody coming at her. And that's just my opinion about the situation. You know, I just feel like if you are prepared to go against man, woman, or child, and you standing 10 toes down in it, you can't really be upset when they come back at you in the same type of way. I just feel like that's just the case. If you standing 10 toes down in it, then expect for people to come at you with the same amount of vitriol that you coming at them with. Okay. And that's just the way it's got to be. Boom. But of course, we had to get back to Scott and Contessa and why it was important to bring Scott and the men to Jekyll Island. What was the ladies' reaction? So we had a question. What was the ladies' reaction to the life coach situation? Quad says it was BS. And of course, by the life coach situation, we're talking about this continuous lie that Dr. Scott has been telling about whether or not he had a life coach, whether or not it was a man, or what have you. Okay. Heavenly calls Scott out because he also was saying that it was a guy life coach when they confronted him. Contessa asked which part is the lie and which part is the truth. Scott is saying that Contessa knew the life coach situation was a lie earlier. That's also a lie that I'm pointing out to you. She says that she found out it was a lie when Dr. Heavenly and Quad were in the room and he said it was a guy. So yet another lie he's being caught up in. Dr. Heavenly wants Kieran, who is Anila's husband, to weigh in because he's very neutral. Scott is like, well, why are you bringing him into this? Because quite frankly, Scott can dig his grave on his own. Okay. Contessa warns Kieran not to weigh in or face getting the wrath of Scott. And Kieran is confused because he's like, what is the truth? Andy is concerned because Dr. Contessa said, what does feeling the wrath of Scott mean? And Scott is quick to clarify that it does not mean anything other than him getting upset. Not that he would ever lay a hand on anybody or get physical. He seems very interested in proving that he is not a violent person. So I'm just noting that as we continue along in these conversations. Anyway, Contessa is still upset about Scott showing the men a picture on his Instagram of the esthetician giving him a facial. Apparently, he got a discount for posting the photo. But when he was showing them the photo, he was talking about how good she looked and how Contessa would never let him hire her. Okay. So we also find out that Dr. Heavenly had to DM Scott on the back end and tell him to take that photo down because it was inappropriate. Finally, he ends up taking the photo down anyway, but that was still another instance of him being inappropriate with another woman and basically disregarding his wife's feelings in any way, shape, or form. He just really looking like, I mean, I'm just going to call a spade a spade. He just exhibits some real creep-like behavior, and I don't really like it for her, to be very honest with you. I think that she can do better than this situation, and I feel like she should probably, you know, move on her own because I don't think that he is ready to really be in a real marriage. And I feel like with what he's doing, he probably needs to be single. And that's just my thought about it. Overall, the group still has hope for Dr. Contessa and Scott that they can reconcile. I don't know how. Okay. I don't know how. At first I did too, but the more I count these lies, the less I feel inclined to want to give him a second chance, because what I don't want for her to happen is once you, okay, here's the thing. If you've ever been in a relationship with someone who is a blatant liar, you will never know or never trust that whatever they're telling you is the truth from this point and forevermore. It will always come down to, I believe that you are lying, or I don't know whether or not to believe you, or I need to put a tracker on your phone. I need to know your location. It just devolves into a situation where you end up suffering as a result of that person's lies. So I just don't feel like I don't necessarily feel like I know if she should take him back in this situation or not. How will we know he's changed? How will we know? You know what I mean? It would be one thing if he was just saying, yes, I admit I did all of these things. They were all wrong. I'm so sorry. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. But he's not even saying that. He's basically just dipping and dodging around questions and whatnot. And it's very disturbing to me. To be quite honest with you, the rest of this show was really not much of anything to talk about. The biggest things that we got were Jackie was giving out some of her Volition products to Quad. We get more Jackie commercials within the show. They asked who the shadiest person in the group was. Everybody agreed it was Heavenly. Do they think that Heavenly could take it as good as she dishes out? And that was in reference to Carrie going at Heavenly. And Heavenly then reveals that Carrie was allegedly a medical mistress and that she slept with her now husband, Duncan, while he was married to another woman. Okay, so we got that. And then we got another little argument between Quad and Toya about whether or not, you know, how Toya got her home, who got the bad credit or whatnot. And honestly, Andy was over it, and honestly, so was I. To be quite frank with you, I feel like this reunion could have probably been about 2 parts because, quite frankly, we didn't really get any real resolve with regards to the major questions that we wanted answers to, and that was Scott and Contessa. Heavenly and Toya ended out on a pretty good note. Quad and Toya ended up fussing and arguing with each other. Toya and Anila ended up on a good foot, and Jackie and, you know, Simone are going to be trying to reconcile and work things out. That's that. So we still don't know what's going to happen between Dr. Contessa and Dr. Scott. And again, this is where I hope that the cameras go ahead and start rolling for next season, because ultimately I feel like we need to go ahead and get this drama while it's hot, to be quite honest with you. And I hate to say that, but this is the reality that we live in. This is where we are with their story. I need for us to follow up on it and figure out what it's going to be, because at the end of the day, either they're going to stay together or they're not going to stay together. And I need to know what's about to happen. Okay. So now we're going to move on over. Okay. We're going to move on over. We're going to move on over to Love and Hip Hop. Okay. I didn't even ask y'all to rate Married to Medicine, the finale part 3, but I don't care because I just felt like I don't want to discuss it no more. What we know from that situation is Dr. Scott told some more lies from according to what we saw. So that was that. But on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you guys rate this newest episode of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta? We got a lot of interesting things going on, a lot of interesting stories. I would like to know what you guys would rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm actually going to give this episode an 8.5. We got a 1. Oh, Lord. We got 6, 8. Okay, 8. A lot of people feeling the same. We got a 10. Okay. 4.5 out of 10, 8, 9.2, 8. Okay. 8. I see you. Okay. Chantel says I actually hated it. Well, let's get into it because I took a lot of notes. Here's the thing. Let's start with, Captain Obvious. Erica Mena is making lemons out of lemonade, and she's having a pregnancy shoot. She still hasn't told Safaree about the baby, okay? And we learned that they've been sleeping in separate rooms to avoid conflicts, and they must have been sleeping in separate rooms for such a long time that he didn't even notice that the girl was pregnant, okay? Now, let me say this. My first thought is this. And I'm not a marriage counselor. I'm not a relationship counselor, but I can only tell you what I feel like works for me. Personally, I think that when you get married or when you are in a serious committed relationship and you live together, I think that the two people that you should go to bed every night and you should go to bed together and you should go to bed naked. Let me tell you why. Let's get into it. If you are going to bed in separate rooms, you are in effect losing that physical connection with your partner. Now, the physical connection isn't just a sexual connection. It is an extra added layer of intimacy for which you guys can continue to nurture the relationship. I personally feel like you should be going to bed with your spouse, with your partner every single night, whether you are mad or not, okay? And to add to that, even if you mad, I feel like you should still be sleeping naked beside your partner, okay? Because I just feel like you never want to close that door to that level of intimacy that you guys have when you go to sleep at nights. And I feel like had they not been doing this, they might still be in a different space, or they might still be in the same space. But I guarantee he would know that his wife was pregnant again, okay? If they were going to sleep every night naked together, okay? Bruce says, I'm giving it a 7. And Mama D is going in on IG and she's making valid points about people who aren't from ATL getting all the camera time, aka Yandy and Erica. Ooh, now that I didn't see. Somebody, let me, how I find Mama D's Instagram, okay? How I find that? And yes, I said naked, okay? Naked. You ain't got to be making the, doing the Uchi Wally, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like sleeping naked with your partner, opens up a level of intimacy that can definitely help you withstand some storms, okay? But that's just me. That's just me. That's just me, okay? Shout out to Bruce for that super chat. Anyway, Erica's not worried about people finding out, even as she's going up about the pregnancy, even as she's going out to meet out with Rashida, Kirk, Bambi, and Scrappy, and Spice, and Yandy, and Mendices at an all-cast event. Now, we learned that this event is for Yandy's birthday or whatever. The camera keeps showing Erica's backside, and in my mind, it looks like it's pretty obvious that Erica is pregnant. You would have to be blind to not see that the girl is pregnant, okay? I just feel like, I don't care how y'all keep angling this camera. I don't care how much black she wear. I don't care how many drapes she throw on or whatever loose fitting clothing. I can see that the girl got a belly that is pregnant, okay? In my mind, y'all not fooling nobody. I can see that the girl pregnant, okay? We learned that Scrap and Bambi are having some issues. She don't want him to leave the house to go promote his record. I didn't even know he had a new record out, but shout out to Scrappy. Rashida comments that Erica and Bambi have early marriage problems and they aren't really anything yet, okay? And Rashida would know. Carly Red, fresh from her divorce, shows up with Lamar Odom and she says that they are just friends. All the girls gag and he looks mad uncomfortable on camera. He didn't even look like he wanted to be there. He looked real awkward. And I feel like in my mind, I don't know what Lamar's angle is. I don't know what his motivations are. But it looked like he had gotten roped into doing this. It didn't look like he was happy to be there in any way, shape, or form. But that's just me. That's just my assessment of the situation. Let me know what y'all felt about this whole situation. Did he look uncomfortable to y'all? Because he looked uncomfortable to me. Okay. She tells a story about them meeting up a long time ago and then reconnected in Miami. And now they are together, but they ain't done the Uchi Wally yet. Okay. Allegedly. We learned the party is for Yandy for her birthday and Mendices gifts her a Rolls Royce. And this is no shade to Mendices or anybody else. Well, really just Mendices. But what does he do? How do these people be? I mean, okay. What does the man do? Now, I know he had just gotten out of the prison. I think it was prison, right? And and he's still on probation. I just want to know what he do. Can somebody riddle me that? Because I don't know. How do you afford to gift your fiance, because you know they're not really married, okay, as of yet, okay? How do you afford to do that? And when, again, I'm not being shady when I ask that question. I genuinely want to know. Like, how? How, Sway? How? But again, listen, this is just me. I just want to know. I like to know what people do for their money, because I find, you know, people, there's a lot of rich people these days, and I just want to know, how are y'all getting all this money? Because, I mean, maybe I could do it too. That's just what I want to know. Anyway. I'm reading y'all responses. I'm not going to put them on the screen. Woo. Thank you for the super chat, boo. Maybe he invested in Bitcoin. There you go. That's probably it. That's probably it. That's probably it. Bitcoin. Okay. One day I'm gonna tell you about my investment into the Dogecoin. We're gonna talk about it one day, but not today. And how stressful that thing is. Okay, anyway. Scrap. The next scene we get is Scrap is at his concert, and I'm wondering, does he have to pay all those people on stage? It was about 30 people on stage at the Scrap concert. Okay, and I was thinking to myself, now, did all of them perform? Were they all their own artists, or were they all just a part of his entourage? Do you have to pay the entourage to be on stage and just stand around with you? I don't know. But that was the question that was lingering in my head. The next thing you know, Safaree jumps out with his fur coat on. And in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, I like Safaree's confessional outfit. I don't know where he got that silk number from, but I was like, I'm feeling that. Okay. Anita says, thinking he had a secret account somewhere because he does. Where does he get the money? We all want to know. We don't know. Okay. I want to know too, where he get it from. Don't know. Anyway, Safaree says that Bambi needs to give Scrap a massage for the good job he's doing on stage. And Scrap is saying that it ain't gonna happen. He says he doesn't want to bring her to the concerts since she doesn't want him to go out. But in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, would you want her at the concert? Because isn't she expecting too? Isn't she pregnant too? I wouldn't want my baby mama at the concert with 30 people on the stage. No, that ain't, I don't. Listen, in my mind, that is not the place for her. And in my mind, when he go home, he need to be massaging her feet because she carrying his child. Okay? Just my thoughts. Anyway, Safaree says that being around the other couples helped him a lot with Erica. He wants to get a vasectomy because he don't want no more kids. Now, he should have thought about that a couple of months ago. Now we back to young baby Tate, who we barely know. Okay, but we learned that she's in LA for work and she got a little free time on her hands. So she's gonna pick up Guap Dad 4000. Okay, I did look him up. He has a song called Chicken Adobo or something like that. Now he's we also learned that he's apparently a Grammy-nominated recording artist. I did not know that. Okay, but she feels like Guap is a hoe. And in my mind, I wrote down in my notes, well, girl, that's a sign. It's a sign that says stop or no, okay? If you feel like he's a hoe, why are you talking to him? Why would you waste your time? If I felt like somebody was coming at me and they had hoe-like tendencies, I mean, unless we was just trying to get down or something like that, why would I be talking to them and wasting my time and giving them camera time? No. Anyway, she's going to Jamaica for her birthday and she wants him to go. He isn't sure if he can go because his brother is getting married that same weekend. Allegedly, okay? We learn more about her background, that her brothers and her dad are in the music business, and she wants to have a kickback at her Airbnb. You know, most of the times these Airbnbs don't want you to have no kickbacks, okay? They don't want you to be having no guests at the house. I'm just telling you the Airbnb rules. Anyway, Carly and Lamar are headed to her restaurant, Johnny's World Famous Chicken and Waffles. And she goes back to the kitchen and requests that they show out. And I'm thinking to myself, that's kind of a boss move. It is kind of a boss move to be able to take somebody to your restaurant and be like, yo, cooks, chefs, I need the best for tonight. You know what I'm saying? For my bae, Lamar, who I'm not sleeping with. Okay. He notes that she's a real whole independent woman. Now, Carly says that Lamar is spoiled, and she says that her boundaries are that he can't have sex with anyone else. So just to give you guys the details, he cannot have sex with Carly, but he cannot have sex with anybody else. Okay. Those are her boundaries. Now, because she just wants to date one person. She asked what happened in his past relationships that he would do different. He said he would not be so quick to make life-changing decisions and moving too fast. And then the Love and Hip Hop producers began to show all of his previous headlines from dating Chloe and from dating Sabrina. What they did not show was any of them headlines involving Liza and the allegations that she was not getting no money for them kids to go to college. Now, we ain't see that either, okay? The next scene that we see, okay, is Yandy and Mendices are out playing basketball with his kids, okay? And I was looking at Mendices, and does he remind y'all of Pharrell? He got a face like Pharrell. It doesn't look like it's aging at all, okay? She says that Infinity, who is her her foster daughter, okay, reached out to her after she hung up on her last Christmas, okay? Now, here's the thing. Infinity, who is her foster daughter, decided not to come home for Christmas, okay? Mendices wanted to have a family Christmas card photo, so they had some photos taken. And apparently, once Infinity, who decided not to come, saw the photos, she went off on a rant, okay, on social media, and was making all these, threats and stuff like that, okay? Mendices doesn't care because he wanted a photo with his kids. The narrative that is being put out there is that when Mendices came home, Yandy kicked Infinity out. So she has texted Yandy that she has booked a flight and is going to stay at the house. Mendices is like, no, that girl ain't staying at the house. Okay, she cannot stay with us because she put out all these stories about us, and I don't want her around our family. You're going to have to meet with her first in order to find out what her real intentions are. Back to young baby Tate, who is back in LA. Okay, she's meeting up with her brother and Brittany B, who was also featured on Love and Hip Hop Hollywood. Okay, Brittany B wrote her song called Bounce. Brittany starts to grill Guap Daddy, and he says something about it being hard to keep things closed when it's already been busted open, leading everybody to think that he's talking about smashing young baby Tate. And she's like, what the F? Okay. Then she notes that he's really sweet behind closed doors, but in front of everybody else, he's a player. And I still go back to the fact that just a second ago, you told us, young baby Tate told us that Guap Dad was a hoe. Why are you surprised about how he's acting in front of his boys? Okay. So she starts going off about how either you're my bae or you're not my bae. And Brittany has to pull her away. And I'm thinking to myself, girl, you should just be focused on your career and not these boys, because that ain't going to really get you nowhere. Okay. Brittany asks her what she wants out of a relationship with someone in the industry. And young baby Tate says she wants to be a Beyonce and a Jay-Z. And Brittany's like, you think that Guap Dad 4,000 is Jay-Z? You got another thing coming, girl. Okay. So they're about to go play a game. Note, she's already still mad. So now they're about to go play a game called Two Truths and a Lie. Okay. And in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, and I wrote down in my notes, Guap seems very immature. So two truths and a lie is basically you tell two truths and then you tell one lie. And here's where Guap Dad proves his immaturity. He basically says two truths and then one lie. The lie was that he was going to go to Jamaica, and he confesses that that was the lie. Now, if you guys will recall, young baby Tate had wanted him to go to Jamaica for her birthday. So he basically, what he did was embarrassed her in front of her group of friends by telling her he was not going to go with her to Jamaica in the format of a game. Okay. And so she starts yelling about everybody having to leave. And he's like, what the heck is going on? And I'm thinking to myself, girl, because in the preview for next week, we're going to see them still talking. And I'm like, girl, this should have been your sign from God to dump this man. But, you know, clearly, this is Love and Hip Hop. So why would she do the smart thing? Why would she do that? Anyway, we learned that Erica has Spice coming over to perform for Safaree. Ooh, The Life of Ashley Hicks. Welcome back on the boats and things for your good birthday, cancer season. Thank you, boo. Thank you. I just wanted to read these. Yes, okay. They both up and coming stars. Just be single out here in these streets. Y'all too young to be trying to settle down when you're trying to get your career started like this. Just do your thing. Be single. Don't try. Ooh, just not yet. Not yet. Anyway, Erica has Spice coming over to perform. The girls come out to blindfold him. He's all happy. They bring him to the backyard. And in my mind, again, if you cannot see that Erica Mena is pregnant, I don't even know what to do for you. I don't know what to do for you because it's clear to me, it's clear as day that the woman is pregnant. Okay. So she sits him down and they have a heart-to-heart about their relationship. And she finally tells him that she is pregnant. He is visibly disappointed. Okay. He don't even know what to say. He lets her know that I told you I didn't want no more kids. Okay. The producer asks him if he's shocked that she's this far along, and he is. He realizes that the distance between them kept him from knowing that she was pregnant. And again, I told y'all in the beginning, if they had been sleeping together naked, he would have already known this. Anyway, he rides off into the sunset on his four-wheeler. Yandy finally meets with Infinity in the park, okay? And Infinity does not want to hug her. Yandy wants to know what's going on and why she finally decided to reach out. Infinity says she felt left out because of the Christmas card and she felt like she didn't get a real invite to the Christmas dinner, okay? To the whole Christmas thing. She's apparently got some issues because she threatened to write a tell-all book about Yandy after not being invited to the house, okay? Infinity, we find out, had also gotten involved. Now, I don't know. Somebody riddle me this. And I'm not trying to be salacious or nothing like that when I say this, but they kept saying that Infinity got involved in a very toxic situation with a toxic person that got into her brain and manipulated her. And I could not tell if she was referring to a man or a woman. And maybe it was just me, but I could not understand because it felt like they was tiptoeing and tap dancing around what type of toxic relationship Infinity was in. So I don't really know. I was just trying to figure that out, but maybe it was just me. We find out that Yandy had told her that if she stayed in that relationship, then she could not stay with her. Oh, she said an older man. Okay, she did say an older man. Boom. Okay, thank you. So apparently it was an older man. Now, Yandy told her that if she stayed in that relationship, that she could not stay with her anymore. Now, Infinity basically felt like if it were her biological child, then Yandy would not have done that and would not have sent her back to her grandmother. So this is where we get into this question of, was Yandy wrong for sending her adopted daughter back to her grandmother? This is what I will say. There's a part of me that says, no, she was not wrong for sending her back because, you know, when you live in the house with your parents or any other adult, it is my belief that you do have to follow the rules of the house. Okay. And so if that is the situation, then you have to listen to the adult in that situation, and you have to understand that the adult is looking out for your best interest, which oftentimes kids don't. Okay. And so Infinity at a young age had to learn a hard lesson about making adult decisions. Okay. And she had to face the consequences of making that adult decision. And she did not like those consequences because clearly she didn't take them seriously. Now, to go back but to also look at the other side of this, Infinity, who also probably already has abandonment issues, this probably triggered them further because now she also feels abandoned by Yandy, who she felt was supposed to be there no matter what. But what she doesn't realize is that does not obligate a person to be there no matter what you do. It only obligates them to mutual respect, okay? To be there under those conditions. And I feel like Infinity chose to push that boundary to see how far that could go. And she didn't like the response that she got. That's my perspective. Okay. And I see that a lot of you guys feel the same way. She can't be a bad influence on the other kids either. Vanessa says that Yandy wanted a babysitter. I'm sorry. So a lot of you guys feel very split down the middle. Oh, I think the issue with the older guy threatening to get Yandy's kids taken away was really what pushed her to send her back to her family. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. House rules are house rules. It is unfortunate for both because I feel like, ultimately, again, I can see how Infinity would further fuel her abandonment issues, but I also understand Yandy's perspective about trying to protect the household overall, and you can't allow these types of bad decisions to affect the younger kids that you do have in that situation. Right. Yep. Punishments and rewards. So I thought that, in this episode, the biggest issues were obviously, Erica Mena and Safaree and him being disappointed, with having a baby, juxtaposing that with, Yandy having these issues with her foster child. I definitely felt like I was more invested in this episode than the last. And we'll continue to watch this play out and see how things go. So just for you guys to know with the reviews, my goal for tomorrow, this is my goal, is to review Love and Marriage Huntsville from this past Saturday, as well as the encore from this past week, because I didn't get a chance to watch either of those yet. And so I want to make my notes and I want to be able to bring you guys reviews for those because that's what I had intentions to do. So just, y'all be patient with me as I get caught back up. I'm still not feeling 100%. It seems to happen every time I fly that I get some sort of either sinus infection or sinus issue or what have you. I don't know what the case may be. And then I threw my back out as well. So I'm having some back issues. It's crazy around here, but you know, we still gonna make it work. However, I'm gonna jump into Love and Marriage Huntsville and the encore in just a bit and start making my notes. And I will get with you guys on those videos again, hopefully tomorrow. If nobody has told you guys today, y'all know I say it all the time. I love you. Tell somebody else that you love them. Spread a little love today. I know it can sound kind of corny, but it does mean a lot to somebody. It will touch somebody. So do what you can. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And I will catch you guys in the next video.